Hi everyone, probably you don't know me, my name is Clara, this is the Ink Path, the channel where I talk about literature and other stuff, but always bookish stuff. And in this video, which is not the normal video that you normally see, because I normally post videos on Fridays, I wanted to actually do something fun. And since like for a week now I've been listening non-stop to the newest album that Taylor Swift has released, named Folklore. I have decided that it would be fun to do a book tag about it. I don't know if there's any other English book tag that has already done this, but if so, this is my version of my own tag. So what I had done is to list all the track list of the CD and associate certain question to certain songs. So each one of them, I will give you a reply, I will give you a book to be matched with that song and that question. If you want to do it, feel free to do so. Please link me your video either in the comment section down below or on Twitter. If you can find me, I leave you all my social media in the info box, so you can follow me and send me your actual reply to the tag. So you pick the books and I want to see them. So. Okay, first of all, if you see me looking that way, it's because my computer is here and I have listed all the prompts and all the answers in the in a Word page, so I in a Word document, so I don't get confused. The first question is the one Taylor Swift sings to a former lover in a way that she explains her feelings towards him and what she was expecting the relationship to be. She was expecting him to be the one. So I thought maybe this is a book that you wanted to love, but it didn't affect you like that. It didn't make you feel what you wanted to feel. So I decided to go with The Lessons by Naomi Alderman. I love Naomi Alderman's books. I've read The Power and I adore it. However, with The Lessons I felt a little bit on the fence and it didn't match the expectations that I had. In the second song, Cardigan, Taylor Swift talks about a complicated love story that is actually interconnected with other songs in the album, but we're not going to enter that. Because it's a complicated love story, I decided to make that the prompt, a book with a complicated love story. It doesn't have to be like on and off, going on kind of a story. Maybe it's complicated in a more political sense. I don't know. I've decided to go with Agnieszka and the Dragon from Uprooted by Naomi Novik. In this story, the relationship they have is complicated, but because they first barely know each other, they are very temperamental, both of them. And even though the romance is a very small part of the plot, maybe like a 5% of the plot, their relationship and interest maybe sometimes collide, so their romantic affection for one another is not so smooth as we may think. But I love the dynamic that they have and I love how they interact with each other. The next song and the next question I want to propose to you is the one that is matched with The Last Great American Dynasty, which is a song where Taylor Swift explores the past of her house in, I think it's Rhode Island. She talks about the couple that used to live there and the kind of Gatsby life that they used to have. And because of this, I've decided to go with pick a book where the house is a very important element in the plot. And I've decided to go with the book The Physic Book of the Bernstein, that explores the story of Connie and how she has to unravel secrets from her family, starting in the house of her grandmother. Having said that, the next one is one of my favorites, which is Exile. And in Exile, actually, Taylor Swift and Bon Iver explore a relationship that is not actually going anymore. So it's a departure, and it's how you feel exiled from the one that you thought it was actually the place where you belong. That person, it's gone, and you are actually stranded, alone. And for that, I've decided to go with a book you love but nobody else seems to like, or a book that you feel you are the one who has read it. So you have two options for that one. In my case, in my actual context, both of the questions can be answered by the book Making Faces by Amy Harmon. I have the Spanish edition of this book, but however, despite of being a very kind of contemporary romance YA book, very profound, I don't know a lot of people who actually actually have read it, or that have loved it in the way I did. So I think it's my pick for this prompt. In the fifth prompt, which is linked to my dear's Ricochet, I have explored this song, which is a very metaphorical song about kind of a relationship gone very, very wrong, that even if the couple, they are not together anymore, Taylor sings about the man in that relationship, about one of the partners who still goes on and tries to kind of not being very nice and throwing things at the other person in the couple. But this is done by using the metaphor of a funeral. So the idea of this song for me is the fact that sometimes your tears can be used as weapon. So that's why my tears ricochet, that's why the title. And I have decided to go with the prompt, pick a book that makes you cry. And I'm going to go with the book that I'm currently reading. One of the books I'm currently reading is the 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. It's not a sad book. It's a very interesting, quirky portal fantasy type of book. And it's not particularly sad, but I remember reading some passages and feeling really on the verge of tears, and in others being really like crying really hard. And I wasn't expecting it to hit me that hard, but I cried a lot. The next one is Mirrorball, and in this song, Taylor explores, among other themes, the idea that she has to pretend, she has to act out a personality and a persona to be protected from the press and from other actors within her life. So she cannot be truly herself, or at least that's the reading of the song that I do. And because of this, I decided to create the next prompt. Pick a character that has to pretend in front of everybody else, or, and this is the second option that I gave you, a character that is more than what it seems. And for that, I'm going with Meredith Dardene, I think it's called like that, from If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This character is is a student in a drama school, and she behaves in a certain way, but at some point in the book you discover that she is not exactly like that, or that she feels forced to be like that because of the ambient that is surrounding her. In the seventh question and in the seventh song, which is called Seven, Taylor Swift explores what it's like to be a child again, what it's like to have this innocence, which, funny enough, is also a theme in other of her previous songs in different albums. So I have decided to go with the prompt, a book that was very important to you during your childhood. And I'm going with Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which is my favorite book since I was like 10 years old, and it's still very relevant to me now, but when I was small, it was the book I used to read over and over again from back to back. The next question is August, a romance that happens during the summer. And for this, I'm going with the only book that I haven't read of the whole list, but I plan to do it very, very soon, and it's Call Me By Your Name by Daniel Asimov. This is the story of a couple that meets over the summer because one of the members in this couple has his family have like a kind of a guest house in Italy. I don't know a lot about this story, but I think it fits very well. And this is a recommendation from my mom when I explained to her my idea for this tag. In the next question, which is This Is Me Trying, Taylor Swift explores a character that needs or wants to improve or to evolve during the song. So I'm going with pick a character that tries to be improved or to evolve during the plot of their book. And I'm going with for me, the highest example of maturity and change in a book, which is Emma Woodhouse from the book Emma by Jane Austen. Through the whole book, we see Emma Woodhouse actually being very, very wrong several times, trying to make things up, trying to fix what she has broken, and she's trying to be a better person and a better friend. Okay, the next question I have is actually the 10th song in the track, which is one of my favorites, and it's called Illicit Affair. This is, of course, an illicit affair that Taylor Swift explores how you feel through if you were the woman in the story. And I have decided to go with a romance, illicit or not, I leave it to your choice, that you know it's going to be ending really, really badly. And I'm going with Catherine and Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. We know that this love was going to be doomed for a start because both of the characters are very unlikable. The next question, however, it's the quite opposite. And the next question goes for the song Invisible String, that actually tells the story from Taylor's point of view about how she went from relationship to relationship, from one place to the other, trying to find the right person for her, and in the end she believes that she's been tied up with this other person, with this lover she is singing to. This invisible string has tied her to him without her knowledge, and at the end they are linked and therefore they are destined to be together. And that's why I decided to actually go with pick an endgame couple, and for that I'm going with Kestrel and Arin from the Winners trilogy, which I haven't finished, but that's because I don't want to actually suffer, but I hope they actually endgame, or at least they are endgame for me. The next question goes for the song Mad Woman, that explores this idea that if you protest, if you as a woman complain or defend what is yours, they call you Mad Woman because you are rebelling against what is established or what is supposed to be fair, but it's obviously not fair if you complain. And for that, I'm going with a female character that rises up against the society she lives in, and I'm going with Circe van Madeline Miller because she lives in a very privileged position among the gods, but she knows that it's not her place, so she rebels against everyone to be happy to find what she thinks is right for her. The next one is Epiphany, and this one was a hard question to or hard prompt to produce, because in this story Taylor Swift talks through what was like being in the Second World War and dealing with PTSD, and she reminisces as well her granddad's memories in the war, but she also intertwines that with the situation that the doctors and other medical staff are dealing at the moment with the virus, and how both of those groups of people were looking for or are still looking for moments of epiphany where they are finding peace, where the things can actually cool down and be normal again. Sorry. And for that, I decided to go with pick a book, fiction or non-fiction, I leave it to your choice, where there are books or there are themes that are very current at the moment, like racial issues, pandemic, and stuff like that. Pick a book that has all these current themes in them. And for that choice or for that prompt, I decided to go with The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which is a YA beloved book that deals with racial issues and police brutality as well. The next one is Betty, a book with an unreliable narrator. And probably you are asking me, Clara, why are you picking this prompt? In Betty, we see how James apologizes to Betty for something he did. And because we are seeing Betty through James's eyes, I've decided to go with this idea of seeing the story through a very unreliable narrator, because James is apologizing from his point of view, but it's not an objective point of view, it's very subjective. So I've decided to talk or to deal here with the theme of the narration and who narrates a story, and what happens if the narrator is not very objective either. So that's why I'm going with an unreliable narrator as a prompt. And for that, I'm going with the kind of probably the clearest example that I have read, which is let me double check. Yes, The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Fielder. In The Shock of the Fall, the main character, who is also the narrator in the story, goes through a very, very traumatic event in his life. But because he has a mental health issue, the reality that we see through him sometimes is not very clear. Sometimes you are not sure, as well as he, if what he is seeing, what he is experiencing is the reality, or it's just his mind playing tricks on him. And the next one, and we are closer to the end, is Peace. In Peace, Taylor Swift explores how she feels when she enters in a relationship, and because the life that she leads, sometimes this relationship is not smooth. There are other people and other elements intertwined in the relationship, like media and pressure and stuff like that. So I decided to be a little bit more inventive and thinking in this prompt about pick a book that you thought you were not very sure at the beginning, you thought that you were not going to like it, or that you were not sure about how to feel about it, but when you ended you actually love it. So pick a book that you weren't very sure, but at the end of the day you love it when you finish it. And I'm going with The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I knew that probably Erin Morgenstern's storytelling technique would be one of my favorites, but I never picked her up, and I knew this book in particular was a little bit of a maze, so I wasn't sure if I would be able to follow through it or if I will get tired because it's a slow paced. But I adore it, I love it, and I cannot wait to have my own copy because I picked this in audiobook format from my library, and actually it's the best decision ever. If you can actually listen to the audiobook, it's great, and it has very kind of different actors in every voice, and I love it. The next one is Hoax. In Hoax, which was a very difficult prompt to create as well. In Hoax, Taylor Swift explores how when you are in a relationship, sometimes all is not very kind of colorful, and there are also bad times in relationships, and it's your decision to make as to if you leave or if you stay and fight for that and fight for the other person and for you as a couple. And because of this persistency idea, I decided to go with the next prompt. Pick a book that you reread several times, and each time you enjoyed very much, or each time you discovered something new. So pick a book that in each reread you discover new aspects. And with this, I'm going with The Turning of the Screw by Henry James. I read it a couple of times now. The first one, I remember that I read an adapted version of it, so it was fun, but it wasn't quite as kind of mesmerizing and as everyone said it was. And I was a little bit disappointed. I knew it wasn't the original text, I knew it was a kind of adaptation from my level of English at that time. But then I reread, or I listened, better said, a dramatization with the original kind of text, and it was dramatization, so it was quite scary. And I saw all the kind of subtext of the story, and I felt scared but mesmerized at the same time. The last question I have for you on the tag is actually the bonus track that is going to appear in the deluxe version of the CD, and the only detail that we know is that it's called The Lakes. And because of this kind of limited information, I have decided to go with the prompt: pick a book that is new release but is not published yet, that you really want to read. And for this I have The Invisible Life of Adila Rue by V. Swap, which is the story of a girl that makes a deal with the devil. And everything that Victoria Swap or V. Swap writes is pure gold, and I cannot wait to read it. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this tag and you join me and actually do it on YouTube or on your blog. And remember, just tag me whenever you post it so I can actually see your choices. See you next week. Bye.